And we are live. What's good, Josh and Mandel Saint? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I really want to know podcast. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody is well. Hope you had a good weekend. Football wise, yeah, my Bearcats lost, my Bengals lost. My Bengals got beat up. I mean, I know. Definitely gonna have to do a show about that, man. This season is not looking good, but it's a long season. It's gonna be a long season, but it's gonna be even longer if we keep playing our quarterback Joe Burrow, who is hurt. If they don't let him get better, it's gonna be a problem. We'll definitely probably do a show about that. Get some people who know about football. My Bearcats moved to a new conference, so they're playing bigger, faster kids. I mean, it is what it is. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna see how that plays out. Um, Colorado, following Coach Prime, they lost to the University of Southern California by 7 points. Very, very, very close game. That was definitely a win for Colorado to even be close. And I was saying that before the game. I'm like, hey, if USC ain't careful, Colorado will beat them. They almost did. They almost did. So it is what it is. Sister Candace is in the building. What's good, sis? Good to see you. Good to see you. How you feeling? Hope you guys are well. Um, so yeah. So football wise, not the best weekend. But everything else is everything else. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. Going to be traveling this weekend and the following that weekend. Um, got some equipment in. We're gonna see if I can get some good footage and stuff like that. I'm still trying to put together that travel pack. I think I've worked all the kinks out. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to get some pretty good content rolling. And we'll see. We'll see. I learn how to transfer information from one device to the other device, and I'm have to do some editing. It's gonna be this YouTube stuff is really turning into what I mean, a lot behind the scenes. Now I see what these content creators are talking about. There's a lot of times in front of the computer trying to make things happen. It's great though. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's cool. It's just a lot of work. So so yeah. So yeah, hope you guys had a good weekend. We're gonna get right into this. Why not? We're gonna talk about I saw a video, Rich Cooper did a video about um like the only way to fix marriage. Even though, and Rich Cooper talks a lot about America, even though he's Canadian, but he's really talking about the first world, like America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, places like that. So, but he talks a lot about what's going on here in America. It is what it is. And Brother Dino's in the building. What's good, fam? What's good, fam? He's like, yeah. He's like, good game on Friday, deal. Any numbers, my brother? No, I was there to watch, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. When I talk about dudes pulling back, not engaging, I'm including myself in that number, bro. Like, I'm not really what I'm doing works for me, but I'm not looking for anything, especially right now. Over the next, I say give it 4.5 years. I'm not doing anything. And what Brother Dino was talking about, I did a video. I was sitting in the parking lot. My daughter is in middle school, but her middle school band was invited to go to the high school and perform during pregame for the high school football game. Friday night football in America is huge. High school football is amazing. It's great. So I was there, and this is the high school she's going to go to. So this is kind of also like recruiting kids, like making sure kids want to come. So and my daughter's already made up her mind she wants to go to this particular high school. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm in the parking lot just chilling, like, oh, let me turn on the camera. Um, and let me talk a little bit about what I'm seeing. And what I was seeing was, there are a lot of single parents in America. We're about to get into that with people aren't getting married. So people are single, people getting divorced, all that stuff. So I'm sitting there and I'm checking out, I'm looking at the women, the soccer moms, the football moms, right? The cheerleader moms, the band moms, they're all there with the kids, right? And a good chunk of them are single. And then you got the guys, the dads are coming up with their kids and they're single. And once upon a time, this used to be the spot, right? You're single, you see a single mom, they see a single dad, the kids are right there. Yo, that they'll try to holler like, "What's up?" Wasn't seeing that. Was not seeing that at all. There were people you could tell that were, like dating, and a lot of stepdad situations, maybe some stepmom situations, but mostly stepdad situations. I was just sitting back taking it all in. The football game, the home team, which was the team, that my daughter is going to be the school she's going to be going to, they got beat down. It's their first loss of the season. They didn't play well. I mean, they played a pretty decent quarter, but overall, I left at halftime, and then I made a friend with one of the dads there whose son played, and he's been there for years. He had 2 or 3 kids to go through that school, and he sent me a text when the game was over, and they got beat pretty bad. So there was that. But the football program was supposed to be pretty good. Again, that was their first loss of the season. The band program was supposed to be excellent. So like my daughter's really excited about, going there and, getting, being part of the band, the marching band and all this other stuff. And I'm excited for it. So yeah, man, it was what it was. But yeah, man, when it comes to like my dating strategy these days, especially as an older dude, I'm like all the other guys, man. I'm hands off, man. I'm just sitting back. Like if a woman sees me out and about, she has to initiate. She has to initiate contact somehow. That doesn't mean she has to come up and say, "Hey, what's up?" Come up, hit me with a line, but she definitely has to make it her business to get close to me, like put herself in my orbit. I talk about this all the time. She has to put herself in my orbit, and to even get me to look. And she can't be. I mean, she has to be regal. You know what I mean? Like she has to be a proper grown up. She can't be tons of makeup on. Trying to dress like she's in her 20s, being loud, all that, trying to get attention. She can't be that. If I see that, I'll walk away. I think I told a story last week. I left the bar because I had that situation. In the cigar joint I was in. Yeah, if I'll walk away. Tampa's a mid-sized city. It's a pretty cool town, but it just, I don't know, man. I'm too old for the nonsense. Doesn't make, a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Brother Jackson in the building. What's good, fam? Miami versus the Bills. Yeah, I think the Bills pulled that out, didn't they? I think the Bills was able to shut down Miami pretty good. I think I saw highlights from that. I wasn't really watching it. I'm not a Dolphins fan. Definitely not a Bills fan. You know what I mean? We, as a Bengals, got to go through Buffalo. You got to go through Tennessee. You got to go through Kansas City. And then in our division, we have a real tough division. We have Baltimore, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. So yeah, Kansas City was looking good. Tennessee beat us up pretty bad. Our problem is our quarterback is hurt. They should just let him rest. They're gonna mess around and they're gonna RG3 Joe Burrow. But again, I'm gonna set up a day and we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna get some like football people on this show, man. We're gonna talk about it. But yeah, when I go out, I'm not really trying to holler at, I'm not doing that. I'm not looking at women. I'm not trying to holler at women. I fit, like all the other dudes. We're sitting around just chilling, just minding our own business, doing whatever. But if a beautiful woman comes up and she's regal, she's, like she's a grown up, she's a top tier woman. Yeah, I'd love to have a conversation. And that's for me, that's all I'm looking for is a good conversation. If I go out and have a good conversation, I'm good. You know what I mean? That's a good night for me, just to have a good conversation. I'm not trying to smash. I'm not trying to bring nobody home. I'm not trying to do all that. It's just too much work. It's just too much work. Yeah, 48-20. Yeah, Buffalo put it on. Yeah, Buffalo put it on them. So, Buffalo's a great team. Shout out to the Bills. So yeah, that was pretty much my weekend. And like I said, there are a lot of dudes. There are a lot of dudes who are just sitting back. They're not MGTOW guys. They're not going their own way. They're out there. They're open to the idea, but they're standoffish. They're kind of like, like I said, ladies, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm not the guy that says, oh, it's feminism is the problem and it's this and that. Man, I don't know what the problem is, bro. I think it's a combination of many things. But we're going to talk about this whole marriage thing in a second, which is definitely an issue in America. The decline of marriage in America, the average age of people who are getting married for the first time in America, the reasons, the way Americans look at marriage, that's a problem. That's a problem. So we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Again, Rich Cooper, Unplugged Alpha. That's his book behind me. You see it right there next to the Obama book, between Obama and The Art of War. Great book, by the way. Highly recommend you guys check it out. It's a quick read. It makes a lot of sense. Just the way he breaks it down. Rich Cooper has a lot of experience. Very successful guy. And I don't know, that book is on point. And it's a lot of dudes who are just kind of, now granted, there's a whole bunch of dudes out there still trying to get it. Those guys, at the lower end of the spectrum, those guys who were used to be a Ray Ray or a Pookie or used to be a Chad or Tyrone, and now they've gotten old, kind of let themselves go. They're still out there running their mouth. You still got those dudes out there who are super thirsty. Those guys are still out there, and women still don't want them. Like, so when you're out and about, they'll tolerate them. And those guys are spending money hand over fist. They're buying drinks. They're trying to buy their way into a situation. Those guys are still there. They're not going anywhere. Those guys are still running numbers. They don't care. They don't care. Like I've seen women come in, like older women, like my age and younger. I would say, from the 40s and up, and like the way they dress and the way they act. And it just, I would sit down and ask myself, like, why is she so confident looking like that? And then sure enough, within 10 or 15 minutes, you'll see these thirsty basement dwellers pop up and go after her and do all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, it makes sense. She's getting all that attention. These guys are just, like I said, they're thirsty, man. They're starving. They're just trying to get whatever they can get. And then that makes sense. So you have this woman who's out there being pursued by a bunch of guys she don't want, looking at, over to the corner somewhere, seeing the guys that she wants the attention from but can't get. It's getting messy out there, y'all. It's getting messy out there. And that's for the old folks. Young folks, it's something similar. Just so many dudes out there, doing the whole simpleton thing. It's just so many dudes out there doing that. So like, it's what it is. It's like, whatever. It is what it is. So young guys, these young dudes who are out here in these spaces and they're trying to figure it out. They're paying attention, they're taking notes, and they're going out and seeing what's really going on out there in the sexual marketplace. And then the old dudes who never really learned, maybe they went through the whole divorce machine and got wrecked, or child support thing and got wrecked, but they're still out there because they got to have it. They're so thirsty, they'll rock with anything. You got that. And then you got the guys towards the top of the spectrum who are just sitting back, So I think I put it this way. There's some dudes out there who are like machine guns, right? They're just out there machine gunning, just mowing down whatever they can, just just mowing down what they can, bro. So, it's kind of like that, Vietnam thing, bro, is this right here. Get some. That's what they want, ladies. Get some. They just want to get you some. They just mowing it down. And then you got guys out there who know what they're doing. And they're more like snipers. One shot, one hit. One shot, one smash, right? They just sit back, you wait, quietly maneuver into position, and you wait patiently. You're just there. You're waiting. You're observing. You're watching closely. And then you see what you want, right? And then you draw a bead. You make your move. Bam. You take them home, right? You got dudes to do that. So you got the shotgun, you got the machine gunners, and then you got the snipers. Uncle Saint's a sniper, in case you were wondering. My machine gun days are over. I was machine gunning when I was in my young 20s. Those days are long gone. I got my skills up. Went to sniper school, and now I'm ready to get them. So let's get into this with and before you do, please like and subscribe. People are still hitting me up like, you're not saying it enough. I'm gonna have to make one of those little ticker things and put it up. Like and subscribe if you don't mind. Share. If I say something that makes some sense, you think it might better help somebody who's out there, and I truly do appreciate it if you do that. So yeah, let's get into this, man. So this is Rich Cooper has a video out there. It's about 13 minutes long. It's on Rich Cooper's Shorts. It'll be linked in the description below when we're done here. I'll make sure I link it. The only way to fix marriage. And here's the thing too, people understand that it's a problem. We have a societal problem, or at least a shift, right? And folks are like, well, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? Rich Cooper gives 5 points on how to fix it, which makes sense. And I agree with him, like this would work. But Rich Cooper goes on to say that it will never happen. I don't know. Right? I don't know. We shall see. Lady Laveau is in the building. What's good, sis? Good to see you. Thank you for coming through. Hope you had a good weekend. Appreciate seeing you. So let's check out this video. Let's pull it up. And Yeah, we're just gonna get into this. We'll let this rock out. So again, this is Rich Cooper. This is from Rich Cooper's Shorts, The Only Way to Fix Marriage. Let's check this out.
I put this out earlier today, and it says, how to encourage marriage by fixing divorce in 5 simple steps. Number 1, eliminate alimony. Okay. By the way, none of this is ever going to happen. Not in our lifetime. The only way to get these things is to go somewhere where it already exists. There are places in the world that don't hate men, that aren't hostile, where you can go, get married. You call it whatever you want, get married, have a family, whatever it happens to be. And you don't have these risks. But in the West, in most Western places, so you want to fix marriage, you want to encourage guys to sign up for marriage, Daily Wire and all the guys in that clan or crew. This is how you do it. You fix it by fixing the divorce laws. Eliminate alimony. If women are so strong and independent today and don't need no man, and a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, you've all heard the sound bites. We hear it all the time. Women are blah, 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 going on about it all the time on social media. Get rid of alimony. Why do they need it? It shouldn't exist. If you're so strong and independent, stand on your own 2 feet after you get divorced, pay your own shit, and look after yourself. You're a grown-ass adult, but no. In many places in the West, you get divorced, you're paying alimony, sometimes not for a fixed period of time. You're paying it for a lifetime. You are paying to support somebody else that you're not married to anymore, you're not being intimate with, you're not enjoying intimacy or sexual benefits from. You're actually paying them money, and some other dude is banging them. It doesn't make any sense, right? Why do you have to maintain their lifestyle into perpetuity just because they married you? Now, some people,
And he has a great point there. He has a great point. And this stuff is, it's what the kids call it now is based. It's common sense, right? His math, is 100% locked in. 100% locked in. Right? He ain't making none of this stuff up. Eliminate alimony. Some states in America have already begun to do that. I can think of one state that has eliminated forever alimony, and that's Florida. Y'all know I'm not a big DeSantis fan, and I do live in Florida, but he got this right. I think dude is I'm gonna keep it 100. I think DeSantis is stupid. I'm gonna keep it 100, but he got that right. Right? Whoever told him to do this, get rid of forever alimony, was on point. It makes sense. Everything that Rich Cooper just said is why they got rid of forever alimony down here in Florida. So forever, and we covered it on this platform. And forever alimony was basically you paid alimony forever. So if you were married to a woman, if you guys were married as a husband and wife, and I think the cutoff was like 7 years, maybe 10 years or something like that, and you got divorced, then you would have to pay alimony until she remarried or died, is what I understood. So why get married again if someone is paying you this money just because you used to be married and you broke the contract, right? That's just how the game worked in Florida. That's done. That's done. Now they do it. There's a scale that they use, and it's based on how long you were married and some other factors or whatever. So the most you can get is a percentage of the time that you were married, right? So and it basically, if you were married for 20 years, you're going to get the highest percentage of alimony, and it's going to last a little longer than it would if you were only married like 5 or 7 years. If you were married less than 3 years, you get nothing. And it kind of it scales up from there, right? It only makes sense, especially in a world where the overwhelming majority of married couples, both work. That's just how it is. It's very rare that you have a stay-at-home mom or dad, although that happens, but it's still very, very rare. Right now, this is in America, like in Florida. Florida is actually, and it shocked me that it's coming from Florida. And there's some other southern states that are kind of looking at these things. They're looking at alimony. They're looking at no-fault divorce. They're looking at custody. When you go in, people who haven't been married, they're looking at custody. They're looking at mandatory DNA testing to determine who the father is. They're looking at these things down in America. And like Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, just to name a few, are the states that are doing it. And generally speaking, when this sort of thing happens, if you get a state or a group of states that begins to change the laws, the rest of the states tend to follow suit. Maybe not immediately, but eventually they just can't hold out. You know what I mean? So they begin to follow suits. That's what happened back in 1969 with California when Ronald Reagan initiated the no fault divorce thing. Irreconcilable differences. Once California did, the rest of the country in America, the rest of the states pretty much caught on and joined suit. So, but yeah, if you eliminate alimony or at a minimum modify alimony to where it makes sense, it doesn't make sense to have to pay someone after a failed marriage. That doesn't make sense. The woman shouldn't pay the man shouldn't pay the woman. Alimony, especially when people are working, but I'm sure there are circumstances in which someone gave up their career so they could take care of the house, take care of the kids. In that situation, yes, it makes sense. And Florida has provisions for that on the books. They have provisions for that. But if you want to get that big alimony check, that long-term alimony check, you got to be married over 20 years. I think that is how it works. We did a video on it and we broke down the law. So you can go back and check it out. Brother Cody is Kings in the building. What's good, fam? Hey, nope. It means nothing unless the vows are enforced. A meaningless contract with huge fees. Yeah. Sister Candace, at most provide a severance package after a divorce 1 year, which is more than enough time to seek employment and get on your 2 feet. That makes sense. And I think they addressed that in the Florida thing. Like this thing that they're doing in Florida. I think DeSantis is an idiot, but he got this one right. The people were really on that one. You know what I'm saying? Scam Likely's in the building. What's good, fam? Dusto. Fixed marriage, do the opposite of Rich Cooper. You're absolutely wrong about that, bro. You know, it's just one of those things, man. You can't look at these points and say that there's no validity to it. You can. And if you say that, fine, go get married. You know what I mean? Like I said, bro, go get married, man. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't wish the negative parts of marriage on anyone. If you vet properly, if you choose properly, I'm like, go for it. It's all good. And I would take it to the next step. I'm like, not only get married, but get married in the great state of Florida. Like, because if it doesn't work out, you know exactly what your exposure is on the alimony side of things. And that's for men and women. Remember, women are doing better than men. They're graduating from college at twice the rate than men are graduating from college. We know if you have university, you have a college degree over your lifetime, you're going to make more money than people who don't. But the sad thing is even though women have more degrees, men are still earning more than they are. The men without degrees are still earning as much or maybe a little bit more than the women with degrees. If you go back and look at the numbers, shout out to the Medium Man. He talks about this stuff all the time. He loves to use numbers. He'll go get stats from all over and it's just like, here it is. But I would argue that you're going to see women catching men simply because they're going to be making so much more money. Where guys, with their overtime and everything, they're making more money than women with degrees. But eventually, I think women are going to overtake them. And we're just talking about on average. I could be wrong. But right now, it is what it is. And Lady Devoe, yeah, like Dust, definitely in the building. Brother Dino's like, Dio, do you know this guy's marriage history? Fixed marriage by fixing divorce, huh? Yeah, he was married and divorced. He went through, Rich Cooper went through the divorce machine in Canada and got wrecked. He got wrecked. And he's business owner, self-made guy. And luckily he had the money to fight. And he had to fight indeed. If you go back and look at his story, and he tells about it in his book, he's very transparent. It cost him a ton of money, paying an attorney, going through the legal system just to get, proper custody of his child, like just to be able to get equal time with his child. So, it just, there are a lot of dudes out there who get wrecked. There are a lot of, guys out there who don't get wrecked, but it is one of those things. The dude was married. He was absolutely married. So yeah, definitely. Like this book is really good. This book is really good. So, and again, a lot of people think that I'm anti-relationship. They watch the content like, man, that guy DL Saint, man, he's anti-relationship. I am not anti-relationship. I am simply saying that it doesn't make sense to get married in America for the person who has the money and the person who has the resources, be it a male or female, doesn't matter. Ask Kelly Clarkson, right? Ask, you know, Jennifer Lopez. You know what I mean? Ask any person, any woman you know who has a lot of money and went through a divorce. You know, if you have, the courts in America are going to, they tend to take from the person who has and gives it to the person who doesn't have, which includes the children. So it's just one of those things. It is what it is. So, and Brother Cody is like, he's like, yeah, well, we all have to pay for our mistakes. Just stop making them. Yeah, you gotta just stop making them for real, for real. And then Scam Lank, he's like, gloom and doom, talking points, red, black, and eventually pink pill. Hey man, that's cool. I mean, you can say that, but like I said, bro, if you talk to lawyers, right, especially lawyers who practice family law, they're gonna tell you the truth, man. It's just, it can be very messy. And then people talk about, well, get a prenup. You can do that. There's no guarantee, you know, because you have to maintain that prenup and you have to do it a certain way and all that. And it's just, you know, it just, the deal just doesn't make sense. Again, I'm not marriage. Let some woman who's worth $20 million want to get married. I will marry her tomorrow. If you're out there, love, you got, if your net worth is 20 million or more. If you're out there and you're looking to get married, holla at your boy. Holla at your boy. We can go to Vegas, go right through the drive-through, get a drive-through wedding and everything, and go straight to the casino floor. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and get $1 million marker and let me show you how to make that money, make that $1 million, $5 million for you on the blackjack table, roulette table. You know what I'm saying? We're going to party a little bit. But if you don't have anything, right? If you're just beautiful or someone loves you and the person that loves you is like wealthy beyond belief, get married. Get married. Even sign a prenup. It's going to guarantee you X. Like if this doesn't work out, you guarantee this. Bet. Right? Negotiate the prenup. If you want me, I'm going to need more than that. Yeah, I'm going to need more than that. Just in case it doesn't work. I'm saying I'm going to need more. So, and it's one of those things. And this is, I hope ladies are listening. Ladies, I hope y'all are listening. Because you out there getting it. Like Ebony K. Williams, Sister Ebony. I would marry Ebony K. Williams tomorrow if she wanted to. Yeah, girl, let's get married. I got a tuxedo. I could walk around a red carpet with you and play the role, but you're going to have to buy your own ring. Right? If you want something more than the 2-carat ring, you're going to have to buy it yourself. I'll buy, here go my money for the 2-carat. But if you wanted the 5-carat, you're going to have to add some money to that. And then that's it. I ain't paying for nothing else. That's it. You want me to pay for it? Man, we're going to Cheesecake Factory. Right? If you want me to pay, we're going to Cheesecake Factory. That's how that's going. You know what I mean? If you want to go to STK, maybe I could do that twice a year. Remember, I'm retired. You feel me? But I mean, that's just how it works. If I marry someone who has a lot of stuff, I'm in it for the love. I don't want anything from them. But if I wanted to, I could wreck them. And that's why they need to fix this situation. That's why they need to fix it. And Brother Cody is saying, for what purpose would you get married, as you say, DL? And if that can be accomplished without that terrible contract, why do it? Like I said, I would marry someone who has more resources than I do. That's the only way I would do it. In this country, if I'm trying to get married, I'm gonna marry a woman whose her net worth is 3 to 4 times that of mine. Now I'm not worried about it. If in 7 years or whatever, 5 years, she decides she doesn't want to be married anymore, fine. It's not gonna hurt me. You know, I might be hurt emotionally, like, oh man, I was really into you, man. I loved you. All right, it doesn't work. We're done. Right? I'm cool with it. And she's definitely gonna come to the table with money because she knows she can get wrecked, especially if there's no prenup. But I'm not trying to run you through it. But if she tries to get fly, try to get big, try to get ugly, try to get nasty, then all right, I will go to court. You're paying for the attorneys. You know, you're paying for all the legal fees. You're going to pay for all the court fees. And the judge is going to smack you in the face. They're going to just take money and throw it over to the other side, which sucks. And that's what needs to be fixed. That's what needs to be fixed. You know what I mean? You know, the scam is like, they know more about the law than the woman. Jane asks Johnny, what color are my eyes? He replies, alimony. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, bro, tell me where I'm wrong, my friend. Tell me where I'm wrong. I mean, it's just, you look at the divorce rate. which we're about to get into here. Like after we watch this video, we're gonna get into the divorce rate. Divorce rate. The divorce rate has started to decline. Why? Because people aren't getting married. Marriage rates are down. There's less people to get divorced. You know, that's the only reason. But you know, we'll get into that in a minute. You know, it is what it is. People have different reasons for not, I would imagine, for not getting married. I think for men, the reason, you know, they hear all these horror stories, and for women, well, they ain't really trying to get married. So I don't know, bro. Brother Penny Jules in the building. What's good, fam? Like you and Ebony K will make a great couple. If you two get hitched, I can be the best. Like, can I be the best man? Shoot, bro. She'll be planning that wedding. She'll be picking my best man, homie. It'll be like that. But hey, I'll throw your name out there. I wouldn't care. That's something I wouldn't be paying for. You know, you get married to a very wealthy person and they want a wedding. It's gonna be something elaborate, crazy, expense. Man, think about that, man. People out here, I think the average wedding is around $50,000 or $60,000 in America, man. Most people get divorced and they still haven't paid for the wedding, bro. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, bro. Like I said, there's an old dude, man. Come on, man. Like, like married now. Nah. I mean, you know, I could see myself with someone down the road, but that's another conversation. We'll talk about, what does the future look like for old players? We could talk about that one day, but this isn't the show for that. But yeah, man, if I was to marry someone like Ebony K. Williams, she'll definitely be paying for that. You know what I mean, Brother Cody? That sounds like a negative stereo. You know what I mean? Negative scenario. I'm sorry. Only one with money for the purpose of not losing money in the unfortunate likelihood it doesn't last. Yeah, I mean it does suck, bro. Like it would be nice if marriage was like it was back in the day. It would be nice, but it simply isn't. I mean, and if there's people out there who go around and it's like, oh, you just do it anyway, like those traditional bad cons, I guess they call them out there, the Daily Wire people, just do it. Like, yeah, man, but you can still get wrecked. I mean, does it work for some people? Yeah, it works for a lot, but half of the people who get married get divorced. That ain't changed. So, you look at roughly half of the people who get married actually get divorced. And then of the rest, it is what it is. But I did want to point that out. Eliminate alimony from the equation. How can that hurt? Right? I mean, honestly, I mean, how could that hurt? Eliminate alimony. I think that's fair. I really do. I think that's fair. Or at least eliminate alimony under certain conditions, right? Which be most of the time, like, you're not going to get nothing. You were married for 3 years, you're not going to get alimony. Like they're doing it in Florida. I think he's making a good point. Let's continue.
Well, rightly will say something like, well, Rich, like, what would you say to your daughter? Would you tell her not to get married? It's a different conversation if you have a daughter. Totally different conversation. Tell her to get married, of course. Like, why would you? It's a great freaking deal. If you love your child and she can find a guy that's got his life sorted, why not tell her to get married? There's no downside. It's all upside. It's low risk, high reward for women. It's high risk, low reward for men. So again, the first thing, eliminate alimony. Let me make this a little bit bigger.
And as a father with a daughter, yes, I agree with him 100%. My daughter can't say, man, I want to marry so-and-so, asked me to marry. What do you think? I'm gonna do my research. I already know whose dude is or whatever. And I'm like, there's no way she can get hurt. Right? And we're taking away all the craziness. We're not talking like abusive stuff and all that. And like I said, if someone dares to abuse my daughter and I find out, they're gonna have little red dots dancing around on their shirt. So I'm not really worried about that. And I'll make it clear to them, like, I'm an old guy, bro. I don't care. Right? Trust me. You touch my daughter, I'm gonna reach out and touch you, homie. You got a problem with her, come talk to me. Right? If she touches you, then run away. My daughter don't hit people like that. So it is what it is. But we'll table that. Just normal situation. My daughter wants to get married. Fine. Especially early on. Like, well, you don't have a lot, and what you have is in trust. So yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and get married. You've been, you've been properly advised, and there's no way to commingle assets and stuff like that. Now you're fine. So if you marrying some dude who doesn't have anything, but she believes in his promise, right? If she's making a bet on his future and he's a good kid, yeah, go ahead. Worst case scenario, you get divorced, man. It's over. Y'all ain't got nothing, so it's nothing to split up. There's not going to be, you know what I mean? It's not a bad deal for a woman. The majority of alimony and child support, this ordered by the courts in America, I think it's 80, 90% from man to woman. When you look, I'm mixing the two together, but I think it's 90% for alimony. I think it's 80 or 85% for child support, which goes from man to woman. And you can look the stuff up. It is what it is. Again, those things could change. You know what I mean? It could definitely change. Sister Candace, if someone is getting alimony, I would argue they shouldn't also receive child support if children are involved. If you aren't financially secure, custody should go to the parent who is. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I would argue 50-50 as a default. I would argue 50-50. And again, yeah, definitely if you're getting alimony, you shouldn't also get child support on top of that. But I would argue 50-50 custody. There should be no child support involved because you have one parent has a child half the time, the other parent has a child the other half of the time. And if there is a financial shortcoming on one side or the other, then, that should be worked out through mitigation in the courts. To say, well, look, if mom says, well, I got 50% custody, but I still need dad to pay $1,500 a month. Why? We need to see why. Like, what's going on? What is going on that you need $1,500 a month from the other party? Because that's something in American courts you can't do. You can't ask what the money's for. You can't demand receipts. Like, so that we need some changes. Like, okay, why do you need this money? And if they can show that, okay, there's a valid reason, okay, maybe there's a conversation. Maybe they can do some sort of negotiation. It's like, well, how about we let mom go to work and maybe dad can hold on to the child a little bit. We'll let dad keep the child the days you got to work so you ain't got to pay for child care. Because they might say, well, I need $1,500 a month in child support to pay for child care because I need somebody to babysit the baby, the kid while I'm working. Fine, we'll let dad do it. It's zero cost. Or dad might say, all right, well, I got to work those hours as well. I already have a daycare service. I'll just add on that difference and then mom can pay me X. Right? You can kind of work that out. Like if it's childcare, we can work that out. If it's transportation, we can work that out. If it's healthcare needs, we can work that out. Because I understand, both parents aren't going to be financially equally yoked. I get that. But that should be worked out. It shouldn't be just a default. This parent has to pay that parent X amount of dollars because of this formula, because of whatever. Again, that's wrong. And again, if you're looking at stuff, then you're like, well, man, that's something to consider. You're sitting around thinking about getting married, like, ooh, that back end might be a problem. It might be a problem, but I agree with you, Sister Candace. And Brother Cody is saying, if there was an agreement, the other part will not work, then I can see a temporary alimony being acceptable to cover the time to get a job max 3 months. Yeah, again, common sense kind of stuff. Like it makes sense. Hey, dad has been a stay-at-home dad. Mom was making $250,000 a year. They were doing pretty good. It was working out. Now dad has to go get a job, get on his feet, get a place to live, all that stuff. Yes, I can see that. Like, all right, we're gonna do kind of like what I think Sister Candace was saying, some sort of a severance package or something like that. Okay, we're gonna pay you X to get you, here's the money for your first and last for your apartment, or here's the down payment for your house if you already got some money saved up, or whatever the case may be. Like you got to get on your feet. You got to be able to, pay all this stuff. You haven't been doing it in the past. Now you got to go out here and get a job. What's the job market look like? All that kind of stuff. That all makes sense 100%. And then once, someone gets on their feet, bam, that's over. It shouldn't be forever. I get you. As someone who has, what's that? Flake many single moms. Oh, as someone who has smashed many single moms, they are spreading that money on. Oh yeah. They're spending that money on themselves and their boy toys. Right. My bad for hacking that up, bro. I really should put my glasses on, but I want to put them on, take them off, put them on, take them off. I guess I can make the text bigger. But yeah, Brother Cody's letting you know, there's a dude who's out there smashing single moms. He knows that some of these women are out there spending that child support money on their boy toys, on their boyfriends, on whatever, and not necessarily on the child. And that's the thing. Child support is supposed to be the money, the minimum amount of money needed to support that child. Like, all right, medical expenses, education, for clothing, for food, for housing. That's what that money is for. That money is not to be taking Cody out, you know what I mean, to your whatever, to a nice sunset dinner somewhere. And you know, that's not what that money is for. Right? Yeah, they said they're not spending the money on the kids. That is what it is. Whereas someone can be deemed responsible for the kids, but are not able to support themselves with pay from the father, without pay from the father. Yeah. And that's what Rich Cooper is talking about. All right, if you're independent, here it is. Here it is. You know, and I mean, I would argue if we get to the point where women are paying alimony and child support, like again, it wouldn't be here in Florida, but if women were doing that, if 75% of the money being paid through these court rulings were going from female to male, bro, there would be an upheaval. There, I mean, politically, it would be smoke in the city, and the laws would change pretty quick. Why? Because I say this all the time: women are more politically active than men. Keep trying to tell brothers, y'all need to get out there and get politically active. Look what happened in Florida. That was not by accident. That was men getting politically active. No more forever alimony. That's a huge win. Huge win. But let's continue.
Bigger. Second thing, default 50-50 custody. Why are we living in a world where men have to fight for custody? Why? Doesn't make any sense. Most fathers are more than capable, and in fact, the statistics say they're better at it than women at raising children and turning them into productive, useful members of society. I wouldn't argue that women are better at it when the children are smaller. They need the nurturing, they need the mother, they need the breast milk, they need all that stuff. Like, women are better at that phase of life. But to remove a man from his child's life, which women are incentivized to do, because when they do it, they also get child support and control, by the way. Okay. They want to make medical decisions unilaterally without your input. Mandatory DNA testing or paternity testing.
So, like, I don't know why they did the jump cut. That was a jump cut in the editing. I don't know why they did that. I haven't watched the full video. I'm going to watch it. I'm gonna watch that full video probably tonight or tomorrow, but I haven't watched the whole thing yet. But 50-50 custody. Again, Florida is leading the way on that. Florida just enacted a law that deems that it is in the child's best interest to have 50-50 equal time with mom and dad, both parents. So the judge can't arbitrarily say, okay, mom's going to get the child 70% of the time, dad, you get 30%. Can't. It's 50. You go into you go into family court, it's 50-50 default. Florida has done that. You know what I mean? Like I said, I am not a Ron DeSantis fan, but bro, I got to give him some props. He gets a Don DeMarco for that. No more forever alimony, and it's 50-50 custody default. And this is in Florida. Again, this is the first state. It's going to branch out. Right? Tennessee has something on the books. They've been trying to get through their system now for about 4 or 5 years, I think. That's the mandatory DNA testing. You come in, you're not married, and someone's saying, hey, that's the father of this child. Great, you got to go get a DNA test. Mandatory. Isn't it crazy that something like that has to be fought tooth and nail just to get on the books? You would think that's a no-brainer. You guys aren't married? Fine. Even if you are married, I want a DNA test just to be sure. Why not? At least have the option. If you don't want the DNA test, you'll have to sign a waiver stating you didn't want the DNA test, and now you are locked into whatever happens. You can't go do it 5 years down the road like, oh, I got a DNA test and this is not my child. So what? You signed this document, you had your shot. That's how hardcore I'll be with that. But 50-50 custody. 50-50 custody. That should be the law of the land. You go into divorce court or you go into the family court system, you've never been married, 50-50 default. Mom and dad get equal. No, it's 50-50. And if you don't want it, you should have to raise your hand. I can't handle that. Fine. Then we go back to the old way, and then the other parent gets more custody or whatever. But it should be 50-50. And if you do that, you understand that in this country, we monetize children. Child support is based on how much time you don't spend with your child. So there's an incentive to keep the child away from the other parent because you're going to get paid more. Right? So that kind of kills two birds with one stone. It's mandatory 50-50. Now you can't justify the child support. How can you justify making somebody pay $3,500 a month in child support when they have the child 50 half the time? Now people get into it, well, the child shouldn't be deprived of standard of living because mom makes so much more money than dad, so mom should have to pay that extra $3,500. No, we're not doing that. No, that should not be a thing. No, it's 50-50. You pay for your child's expenses and everything while the child's with you, and they pay when the child is with them. And as far as the important stuff, healthcare, education, food, shelter, that sort of stuff, that's the only time I would even consider, all right, money should come into play. That's the only time. It's like, all right, now, of course, if one parent is homeless, you got to work something out. You absolutely got to work something out. You can't have the child going into a situation where it was homeless, but, again, it's all should be about the child's best interest. You know what I mean, Brother Penny? In the majority of payments, if the majority of payments went from women to men, they would have abolished alimony yesterday. Facts, bro. Facts. Sister Candace, a lot of these infants don't have a standard of living. That's right, sis. That's right. They don't have a standard of living. And I mean, again, there's going to be outliers. There's going to be issues. You're going to have one person who's maybe living assisted living in the projects. Or you got somebody living in the projects. Man, I would not be cool with my child being in the projects. But the court shouldn't force me to pay for a home for, mom and dad. I mean, for the other parent to live in. That's just a tough one right there. And that's something, now the attorneys have to argue like, well, it's not safe. And then you get into that. Again, outliers are outliers. But if you have a lot of money and the other parent doesn't, you got choices to make, let's say. You got choices to make. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Standard of living is never going to be the same. Never going to be the same. Very rarely will it be the same, I would imagine. I mean, it's great when you had a situation like dad's worth $2 million, mom's worth $2 million, they split. Yeah, the standard of living. I mean, hell, the dad might buy a house right across the street and kids just got to run across the street back and forth. It is what it is. Mom and dad get along. Wouldn't that be great? But we know that's not the norm. But take the money out of it now, and we'll see who really cares about their children. Take the money out of it. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. D-Mac is in the building. What's good, fam? Like 50-50, where's the pen? I'm signing. Yeah, bro, down here in Florida. Now, I don't know how that's going to work, bro. I don't know if it's going to be retroactive. I don't know if they're going to go back and look at their cases, from the past and go back and make the changes. I don't know. I would imagine that if you're in a situation where you have 30% custody and now this law is out, you're definitely going to want to go back to court to get that 50% custody. And then they might hit you with some sort of step up or whatever. But if it's in the child's best interest that both parents be equally involved in their upbringing, and that's the law of the land, and that's what they're going to mandate in Florida, then yeah, I could see people filing to get back in there. You might have folks in there just cool with whatever they got. They got 30%, 20%, whatever they got, they might be happy. Maybe they got 45%. They're like, well, I don't want to, pay to come back into court just to get that other 5%. You know what I mean? I got a good relationship with the other parent. It's not a big thing. We don't have, problems with child support or whatever. Who knows? But this is really a good thing, bro. This is really a good thing. Yeah, this is the Kansas. Like, isn't Kanye paying $4,000 a month? If he is, that's not bad. Oh, you said $400K. Ooh, I thought it was $4,000. $400K a month. Yeah, who knows what he's paying, bro? That's insane. That's millionaire business, isn't it? Billionaire business. You got Kim and Kanye. That's still a lot of money. Even if you have it, man, $400,000 a month. That money should go into trust. All that money should go into trust. But you're dealing with people like Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, man. Come on, for real life, this all monopoly money. That's all monopoly money. Brother Cody is saying that's BS if they don't. That's BS if they want standard of living with the one. I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. That's BS if they want standard of living, live with the one with the standard. Thanks, bro. That's cool. And that was so. Next time, won't you type in how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? You have me all over the place on that one, bro. I'm like, what? Wait. What's that? If not, I appreciate you, bro. Brother Pitney. There needs to be a means of verifying that money from child support is actually being spent on the child. Receipts and other documentation need to be submitted for annual renewal. You can't do it, at least in California, it's illegal to even ask. You can't do it. Again, those are one of the things that will change. I believe so Rich continues and he says that Rich started off by saying, here are 5 things that will help get more people interested in marriage, but these things will never happen. That's where I disagree with Rich. I think they will happen. I think we're currently witnessing the shift. It just takes a long time here in America. I don't know about Canada. I don't know what's going on up there, brother. Cody is king. You up there. I don't know what's going on in Canada, but down here in America, we're already seeing the slow shift. The change has begun. Getting rid of forever alimony. That's major. I'm telling you, the other states are going to catch on with that. If they already have a forever alimony. I think Florida was one of the rare states who actually had it on the books and they got rid of it. This 50-50 custody thing. Florida has it on the books now. So other states are going to catch on. Like I said, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, there's a few others that are already looking at certain bills that are coming through their legislature just making these changes. We're going to get into the division of assets here in a second. And Brother Cody's like, no child support at all. I'm with you on that, bro. You bring a child into this world, you know what you're doing. There shouldn't be no child support. You got 2 parents, or, my big thing is giving men a choice to be financial fathers. Like women have choices to have kids or not have kids. Men should have choices to be a father, not be a father. That's another conversation. We can have that conversation a little later. Right. And you're right. You're right about that. There's degeneracy in broken families. You're right about that, bro. When you have that money, and I mean, it just you can't get around that. You just can't. I'm not gonna lie to you. You just can't. If you're a young, beautiful woman, you got an amazing body, pretty face. You're feminine, you're friendly, and you're savvy. How can I be mad at a woman who will go out there and just hunt billionaires? She can go to New York. She can go to DC. She can go to California, LA, San Francisco. She can go to Miami and just hunt billionaires or almost billionaires. She'll kill a game. How can I be mad at that? Like she's just going to use what she has. And I'm not saying she's going out there just smashing for money. No, she's just putting herself around these men, let these men pursue her. And then, she finds the one she wants to get the best deal, gets the best prenup. How could I be mad? How could I be mad? $200,000 a month is what Kanye is paying Kim Kardashian, according to Brother Jack. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. $200,000 every single month. Every single month. That's crazy. You know what I mean? And then like that whole cohabitation thing, common law now depends. I know Florida has its own take on that, but some other states are real liberal with that. You gotta be careful. You gotta know that kind of stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all gotta know it. People hear this like, you just talking to men. I'm like, I'm talking to both. I'm talking to the people with something to lose. Ladies, I'm talking to y'all too. You sitting on $20 million. You need somebody to live with for a few months, right? I will gladly move to whatever state. I can find out what state where that's real liberal. Yeah. Cohabitate with you for 3 months and now you got to pay me $5 million so I can go away. Come on now. That's the game. That's the game. You got to know the laws. You got to know the laws. And I would imagine the states that are probably most liberal on that cohabitation stuff would probably be some southern states. You know what I mean? So, I would imagine some of the southern states. But I don't know. I haven't looked into it. But let's continue the video.
Testing, as it's called, because it's nearly impossible to establish the rates of which paternity fraud exists. The word fraud is a part of paternity fraud because it relies on one party being deceptive to the other. Women have with 100% assurance that when they are pregnant and they birth a child, it is theirs. They know it because they carried it and they pushed it through their body. So there's no confusion, which is fine. But men have some uncertainty in that area. It's entirely possible, and it happens, where women get impregnated by somebody else, and then they point to that guy who could be the husband. He may not be the husband at that time, and says, that's the father. You're the father. This is yours. You stand up and man up. Now, going back to the notion that we don't know what the actual rates happen to be, I came across some data. I was doing some research when I was writing my first edition of the book, and it mostly comes from the medical establishment and from school assignments, believe it or not. If you ask women out there if they could honestly take a survey and state whether or not the father or the person that has been playing the role of the dad to their children is a real father, and get an honest answer, you're not going to get it. Because if they say that the guy is not the father, then that exposes them to potential harm, that exposes them to shame. There's a lot of consequences. The consequences are much, much higher for women. So it's understandable as to why they would be deceptive and lie about the paternity of the child, or pretend like, oh, I don't know, or I'm pretty sure it's him. It's got to be him. It's got his eyebrows or whatever. It's been revealed a number of times in medical establishments. So as an example, without going through all of them, if you've got a sick child that has a disease, they do blood labs on the child. They then do blood labs on the parents to try to establish the genome and potential remedies, or if they need to, I don't know, the kid's got bone cancer or something like that, or they need a kidney, is one of the parents a donor. And then the medical establishment then discovers, oh, wait, hold on a second. Yeah, that's the mom, but the DNA has no association to the father. That's not the father. Now, depending on where they live, they don't always disclose it to the father. They'll have a conversation with the mom and say, are you sure that he's the dad? Because the blood labs or, the results from the testing say that he's not the father. And, at that time, they're in a private room with the medical professional and her, and they might have a conversation like, well, I'm not entirely certain, but maybe he's not. There was another guy around the same time. And then maybe the medical professional says, well, we don't have to disclose it here in this state or province, but just so you know, right? The medical establishment has shown somewhere between 10 to 15% of the time when they're doing these studies, on the blood and the kids and the sickness and all this sort of stuff, the guy that's been acting as a dad is not the dad.
Yo, that's insane. That's insane. I was watching something on YouTube the other day. Guys, what was that movie, that TV? It was a series about this black woman who was, I guess, the fixer for the president of the United States in this series. And then she started having an affair with the president. What's the name of that series? I never watched it. Everyone was crazy about it. It's one of the biggest TV shows, or was one of the biggest TV shows in America. It was on network TV, I think. I'm not sure if it was on, it might have been on one of the streaming services. I don't know. It could have been HBO, Showtime, or something like that. But Scandal. Thank you, sis. And shout out to Miss AKA Lady. She's in the building. Shout out to you. Thank you, ladies. I knew y'all would know. That was like a huge show, right? It turns out that the man that she has known her whole life as her dad, turns out is not her biological father. I don't know if you guys know about that. I was kind of looking for stuff on this topic because, sometimes I'll type in information, try to search for source material, whatever. She was doing one of those DNA test things. And this was, matter of fact, this was on Pink Book Lessons. I was watching that. Shout out to Pink Book. And she was doing one of those DNA shows, and she's an A-list celebrity. And they bring in A-list celebrities and they run your DNA and they tell you about your history and da. Well, it turns out that her mom had a baby by another dude and they never told her. So her dad, who she thought her father was, turns out is not her biological father. And then her mom told her, you know, well, you were born like your dad was a sperm donor. You were basically a test tube baby. But if you people kind of course, they're gonna get into this because it's just an A-list celebrity. And they're like, no, you had that wasn't common back then. In fact, the first successful test tube baby was a year after she was born, or something like that, 2 years after she was born, or something like that. So basically, what it was is mom was not honest with who the dad is, and it looks like the stepdad was in on it. Like he knew that she wasn't his biological, but he raised her anyway, right? So it's man, and it messed her up. Like I mean, it really did mess her up. I didn't follow this thing. I was just watching Pink Book. It's not something that I was like kind of into, but I can understand how that will screw you up, and it just goes to show how especially for women, like that's your baby because the baby comes from you, but no one knows who the father is but you in most cases. Some women really don't know. Some women really don't know, and that's crazy. There's some women out there, they're just getting it in. They might have, three or four guys that they think, well, I think one of those three is the dad. We've seen that on Ricky Lake and Jerry Springer and all that kind of stuff when, you're not the daddy. What was the other? It was another guy who was big. It was one of those TV show guys, those daytime TV shows, the gawk shows. He was big for it. I forget his name, but it was one episode, man. It was like a girl, and it must have been 10 dudes up there, and they ran DNA tests on all 10 dudes, and none of them were the father. You're not the father. You're not the father. You're not the father. You're not the father. Right? It was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, Kerry Washington and Brother D Mike, appreciate that. Yeah, Kerry Washington, man. That's something that's so hard to deal with. And then you think like you've made it, you're an A-lister, something like that would be like a nothing burger. Man, she was already struggling with her success. She's married to a good husband. She has a beautiful family. She has 2 children. They're living the picture perfect life. And then she finds this out and some other stuff or whatever. There were rumors that she wanted to delete herself, not because of that, but earlier, like she already had those thoughts. And I'm telling you, man, like Hollywood messes you up, y'all. Messes you up. You just don't know what these people are doing to get to success. So it's just crazy, man. Like her mom lied to her. 50 something years. I think the same thing happened with the Kurt Franklin. I think the same thing happened with him. I think it was Kurt Franklin, and his mom telling him, well, that's not really your dad or something like that, and kind of messed him up. Yeah, I mean, it is, and like Cody said, yeah, it's a nice way to ruin 3 lives, bro, or more. 3 lives or more. I mean, it just you put that out there, and just that trust is broken. Like, damn. Like you said, yeah, like I said, maybe 4. That's good, man. The Jersey's in the building. What's good, fam? Good to see you, man. Hope all is well on your end. It's terrible, man. Like it's terrible how this is going down, but this is life. This has been going on forever. The only difference now compared to 100 years ago is we have technology that we can prove who the dad is, or more importantly, who the dad is not. And again, our laws have to catch up with it. You have like Rich was saying, paternity fraud is a real thing. And a lot of time, man, sometimes women might not know, and she's hoping it is the other person or whatever, but they just don't know. Right. So, you could be a guy, you're, taking care of this child, and, you figure that's, we've been married and that's our baby and da. Then you find out that that's not your biological child. Man, that's a tough one, man. That is such a tough one, man. Or even worse, you've been paying for child support for a child and you find out it's not yours. And you don't get that money back. Even if you can prove she knew and she lied, you don't get that money back. And no one goes to jail. You could be paying $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, $12,000 a year for 5 years, right? $12,000 a year for 5 years. You can pay all that money, bro. Gone. Yes, you can buy yourself a decent little car with that. Put down, nice down payment. $60,000. I mean, imagine I mean, is that 60 or 60? That's $60,000, right? Is my math off? Let me grab my calculator real quick, just to be sure. 12,000 times 5. Yep, $60,000. Cincinnati public school education paying off. I was right. $60,000 over 5 years that you do not recoup. Imagine if you had $60,000 that you can put, you can put $12,000. I'm questioning $1,200 a year, right, into an account. Imagine what you can done with that. Like 60 grand. Imagine what you can done with that. It's just crazy, man. Miss AK, hey, lady, I thought it was crazy that she spoke about it. She is super private, but that's not true at DL. Both parties made a decision to get the sperm donor, and the mom wasn't dishonest about anything. That might be right. Like I said, I'm basing all this off of another YouTube creator. I saw Pink Book Diaries, or Pink Book Lessons. Check it out. I'll send it to you, Miss AK, hey, lady. You can check it out for yourself. That it spins a different narrative as to what was going on. She didn't know. And the whole sperm, the thing was the sperm donor thing was that's what messed the whole story up, because the timeline didn't work. So, she was saying, oh, it was sperm donor, and we were using this technology that didn't exist, and that's how you were born. But now the sperm got in there the old fashioned way, apparently. And that's what it seems that what mom was trying to avoid. Again, it's one of those things people dig. That's the problem with being an A-lister, man. People dig. They dig. Like it's kind of like saying, yeah, man, I had a 2023 Mercedes. I got a brand new 2023 Mercedes Benz. Ain't nowhere ever had it before. You got a 2023 Mercedes Benz, but it's 2001. How you gonna have a 2023 Mercedes Benz in 2001? Right? It's kind of one of those kind of things. Like the math didn't add up. The math didn't math. So who knows? Like who knows? And it's just one of those things. That's the whole problem about, if indeed you're trying to keep a secret. Everyone has secrets. If you're trying to keep a secret and it gets exposed, that's a problem. At some point, you got to say, yeah, we lied, and this is what really happened. Or you got to, stick with the lie if, in fact, you are lying. So it is what it is. It is what it is. And this woman, she had a husband who was willing to raise her child as his and all that. I personally would, you would think, like, just tell her the truth. But they didn't. And it led to this. Well, I got a sperm donor. Really? You living in the hood? Like, you living in the hood, and you had enough money to get the most expensive experimental procedure ever. So you're going to get it before the Rothschilds are going to get it. You're going to get it before the Rockefellers are going to get it. Nah, you need the money to get that. You know what I mean? Kind of like that cure that Magic got. You had to have the money to get that. Doesn't seem easy. He quite had enough bread. You know what I mean? So it goes to that. And I'm talking about that, talking about that HIV status. And look, Miss AK lady and Cody about to go. They about to go toe to toe. I love it. I love that. I love that. You know what I mean? But you're right about that, bro. The money means nothing compared to the emotional loss. Yeah, not to mention the waste of life and the likely good that he would be too old to continue his bloodline realistically. Yeah, man. I mean, it is what it is. People make decisions, man. I ain't gonna lie. For those guys who go out there and they make those decisions to raise a child as your own, man, salute to you. That's what's up. I don't knock it. I don't knock it at all. It's just for the guys who don't know and they're doing it. They don't know. That sucks. And then you find out, like you said, your child needs a kidney. You go in there to give your child a kidney, and then the doctor tells you, like, nah, y'all not, the DNA doesn't match. That's not your child. The doctor tells you that. Or if your homeboy's a doctor, like Rich was saying, some states won't even let you do that. They'll keep that information private. They'll tell the woman, but they won't tell the man. You would think something's wrong with that. But that's where we are right now. And these are the things, like I said, these are some of the things that need to change. Right? So he was talking about division of assets, but he kind of jumped into mandatory DNA paternity tests, which, again, that's happening in America right now. Tennessee right now is trying to get that pushed through their state laws. If it gets on the books in Tennessee, which it might, looks like it's going to, again, other states are going to jump on board. I see the chat is loudy tonight, man. I'm just going to jump. I'm just going to show all the chats. I know I'm not going to be able to keep up with everything, but I'm watching, y'all. I'm watching. Shout out to Cody as King and Miss AK. Hey, lady, it's always love. They be bringing it. They be bringing it. I'm definitely going to go back and read all of them. I'm trying to keep up. So let's continue the video.
School assignments have shown the numbers to be high as well. To say that's across the board, that 25% or 20% of the time there's paternity fraud would be an unfair statement, but it exists. That's the problem. The fact that it exists, the fact that it is a potential to exist, is a problem for men. Men do not want to raise the seed of another man. It's why most single moms are repulsive to guys and they don't want to get involved with them. And they get turned off and will express frustration and this sort of stuff online when they're trying to settle down and, find a guy and get right and all that sort of stuff. And they've got kids in tow from a prior type of relationship. So I think that mandatory DNA testing at the hospital when the child's born being done makes marriage and having kids that much more attractive, because it's one of the legitimate grievances that men have expressed today is paternity fraud exists. Cuckoldry exists, and it's at a rate that is unknown, but higher than what most people out there will hold out to the public. It's real. It's a real problem. And the fifth one is issuing child support to what the child actually needs.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. It looked like it jumped over the elimination of division of assets, which, oops, my bad. If you get married, because Rich is proposing that if you eliminate division of assets, then more men would probably want to get married. More, and again, men ask women to marry them. So, when you're trying to make marriage more, palatable for men, or, if you're trying to get men to want to be married, these are some of the changes you should make. Elimination of division of assets. Man, I don't know where I stand on that one. I think if you get married, and let's say you're married for 10 years and you guys are building together, I think for that 10-year period that y'all were married, yeah, you should be able to, and if it doesn't work out, you should split those assets. But that's a tough one. Because if you have the scenario where, let's say dad is at home, he's just, he left his career as a plumber. He's a stay-at-home dad. He's taking care of the house. He's taking care of the kids. Mom is working as a lawyer, trying to make partner at the firm. All right. So you got that going on. Okay. And they decide that they're going to get divorced after 10 years. In that 10-year period, they bought 2 properties. They bought like a summer home. They bought a nice house, their primary home. Let's say they bought a beach house somewhere on the beach. They started a fund, like some sort of financial fund that they started, and they were making investments. And let's say that, dad was overlooking that while he was at home. Of course, let's say the wife is the one who was savvy enough, like, okay, she was the one getting the illegal tips and telling him what stocks to buy. So they started a stock portfolio. He's doing the day trading or whatever while he's home. It kind of worked out. He's watching the kids, so they don't have to spend money on child, on child care and all that. So that stock fund is up to $100,000. I would say in that scenario that, yeah, they would split all that. They getting divorced. In that scenario, they would split it all because they were doing it as a partnership within the marriage. It was commingled funds, all that good stuff. They should split that after 10 years, after 5 years, whatever. They should split that. But if you have a scenario where, let's say the guy's at home, he's not doing anything. They don't have any kids. He just doesn't want to work. He doesn't even clean the house. Like something goes wrong, even though he's a plumber, something needs to be fixed. He calls the plumber. You know what I mean? There's a maid there. There's a chef there. That guy was just in the lap of luxury, just kicking it. He was the boy toy. He knew it, whatever. 5 years down the road, she was like, I've had enough. I want to get a divorce. There should be no split because he added no value. He added no value. Like, so she had, you know, an investment fund that she started over here. Maybe she invested in a rental property over there, and because she had to come up with ways to pay for this dude's lifestyle, right? In that scenario, there should be no split of assets. But when you have a scenario when both the husband and wife move forward and they built together, I think there should be a split. All right. So that's my take on elimination of eliminate division of assets. I think there should be division of assets if both parties works towards to building those assets. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think that's fair. That's only fair. But then he got into the mandatory DNA paternity test, and he's saying what Rich is saying is, even if you're married, you should, you know, once there's a dissolution of the marriage, you're going into divorce court, that there should be DNA tests on the children. I wouldn't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? Certainly if there was no marriage at all, of course, DNA test. But even if you were married, they should tell the husband, you have a legal right to get DNA tests done on your children. Would you like to exercise that right? And if the father says no, then fine. That's it. Can't bring it up again. We're about to split this up, and it's going to be whatever it's going to be. That was your one opportunity. If you had any question whatsoever, that was your one opportunity. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Doesn't have to be mandatory, but it's mandatory upon request. In other words, you know, mom can't say, no, don't do. No, we're doing a DNA test. We're the kids. We got some swabbing to do. I think that makes sense. I think that man should be given the opportunity. Why? Because we know that the children came from mom. We know that. So the man should be given an opportunity. I definitely agree with that. So it's crazy. Miss AK Lady and Cody is king. Yo, Miss AK Lady, when Cody comes down to visit, we're gonna all go out, have some tea. We're gonna all go out, just kick it. Oh man, I love the Santa Claus comment, bro. That was hilarious. That was hilarious. But yeah, I think that last good man is saying in good Jersey, last good man in Jersey is saying Rich overcomplicates the issue. I don't think so, bro. I think that, you know, if these 5 things were enacted, I think more men would want to get married. More men, I think more top tier men would do it. And those guys who are on their way, like if you have something or you plan to have something, I think guys will do it. I think the problem with marriage is, like, even like in your situation, bro, like you put it out on social media, like because of the laws in New York, it worked out fairly. You didn't have to go and spend a whole bunch of resources and money just trying to get access to your child. I mean, I know people out there who have lots and lots of money to get access to their children, and they lose. You know, we need to have laws that kind of guarantee that if this contract doesn't work out, if this partnership, this marriage doesn't work, one person isn't going to get ran through the ringer. Right? I think we should have that, especially when it comes to children. Like I said, Florida, I'm shocked that Florida did this, but Florida says it's in the best interest of the child to have access to both parents. Wow. Every time I say it, I'm like, wow, Florida, like that. It's just great. But I don't really think that Rich overcomplicates it at all. I think he brings up some valid points. You know, I talk to a lot of dudes like, man, I ain't really trying to get married, man. I got too much to lose, man. I don't feel like dealing with. I got to hire the attorneys up front, get a prenup. You know what I mean? My attorneys were telling me that every so often we got to go and review the prenup, and then we got to do a post-nup, and then we got to do, and then I got to be careful. I got to hire an accountant to make sure that I don't commingle funds. And I mean, it's just because people are just, it's just like, man, you know, they're planning for the failure. And can you blame them? Half the time it ends in divorce. So they're planning for the failure. Miss AKA Lady had a really good point last time we was talking about this. She was like, well, maybe it should be, marriages should be terms. It should be like a term. Like you go in like, okay, let's just go and get married, a 2-year or 3-year, 5-year marriage. And the terms are already set. If this doesn't, after 5 years, we don't have to renew, right? So it's already set. Whatever split's going to be, or even if there's a split or involved or anything, that might work. You know what I mean? That's it. You know what I mean? That's what it is. Something like that might work. But what Rich is proposing here, these five bullet points on how to make marriage, better. You know what I mean? Those 5 things would fix marriage as it is today, I think. It definitely wouldn't hurt. Okay, I'll drop the link. And let me drop the link real quick so we can get on. So yeah, man. Last good man in Jersey is about to join us, and we're gonna have this conversation. And the link is in the chat, guys. The link is in the chat. Whoever wants to come up, you know what I'm saying? Please come forth. It's all good. Last good man in Jersey went playing. And then you got Cody's King is like, get up there, Miss AKA lady. Yeah, jump up here. What's good, fam? How you doing, bro?
What's going on, man? How you been?
I've been all right, man. Not working as hard as you, but still working hard, bro. Working hard,
yeah, it's been busy. Q4 is coming. Gotta hit it hard. Gotta hit it hard.
I ain't mad at you, man. When's your next trip to the happy place?
I'm not sure. It's not going to be this year because now I've got all this holiday travel to think about. So, visiting family is going to pretty much keep me occupied for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But yeah, sometime around February, I'm going to start to get that itch again. I'll have to get out there.
I ain't mad at you, man. Keep us posted when you're going. We're talking about the Philippines, y'all.
Yes, indeed.
In case anybody's wondering, keep us posted. So,
Philippines.
So you're saying Rich Cooper is complicating matters?
I think he's overcomplicating it. I think he's got principally the right idea, but I would approach it a little bit differently because kind of what he's doing leads to a lot of questions like the ones you're asking, where you're like, well, I don't agree with one of these things he said. I don't agree with another thing he said. What I would say is this. We need to approach marriage like it's a business. And if it's a business, then you need a business contract. I would have no issue with, prenups, you can argue about how effectively they work. Basically, all these things should be part of a marriage contract, and all of this should be agreed upon up front. If you got a couple and they want to have a division of assets, okay. If they want to have alimony, okay. We should have just a standard list of things that you've got to go through. And it's, how are we handling this? How are we handling that? If I'm working and you're not, what does that look like? Increased assets, what does that look like? For most people, the problem is you get divorced and you start figuring out what this looks like on the back end when it's too late. If you know up front, hey, if we get divorced, half of this house is yours, well, that might change the way you approach it. Or if a woman knew up front, hey, I'm not going to get alimony or child support from this guy, maybe she would stop and think, do I really want to divorce him, knowing financially what it's going to cost me? So it's more about having the conversation. It's less about specifically outlining exactly what everybody is supposed to have, because that's going to be different for kind of, you said with the division of assets. If I walk in with a certain set of assets and you got a different set of assets, that's cool. But what about all the stuff we build together? Or what if some of my assets are helping you to acquire more stuff? It's like, that's a messy space. So I don't know how you just say unilaterally, this is what everybody gets.
So, okay. So I think I understand what you're saying. So let's walk through how this process will look.
Okay.
Mr. Jones wants to get married to Miss Smith. Right? So he proposes. He does everything. Yep. Everything's traditional up to this point. He goes, he gets the ring. He gets down on one knee, does all this stuff. She says yes. Everybody claps at the restaurant or whatever. They're ready to go get married. What's the next step, right? They got to go get a marriage license, right?
Yep.
What does that look like?
So the marriage license becomes more of a marriage contract.
Okay.
And instead of just we're agreeing to be bound together for life, it's like, no. We're agreeing to be bound together for life, but this is what that looks like. Let's talk. I mean, I would get into a whole lot more detail than what he has here. What does that look like financially? What does that look like from a family? I would get as into the nitty gritty as saying, look, how many kids do you guys plan to have? You both want 2 kids? Okay. If you have one and somebody changes their mind because they want to pursue a career and they don't care about kids anymore, well, that's not what you agreed to. So what happens in that situation? I would be really, really specific about all the twists and turns that you can foresee. Because you say, look, if this doesn't work out, if we want to go 2 different directions, that's cool. But there are consequences to that. You don't want to have that second kid you agreed to? Well, we talked about what the consequences of that are. I just think we need to get all those consequences out up front, save ourselves some time. But I will also say that part of this is I did a little post on this. The number one reason why people get divorced really boils down to it's because they can. The easier it is for people to get divorced, the more likely they are to do it. You got like the Maldives, which is the easiest place in the world to get divorced, highest divorce rate. India, one of the hardest places to get divorced, lowest divorce rate. It's not your religion, it's not anything, it's just how easy is it for me to do this? So you write out a contract, say this is what it is. I think a lot of people stop getting married because they realize I don't want to have to sign up for all of this stuff. But the ones who do, they know what they're signed up for. Let's hassle.
I think because I would argue that what you're saying makes sense, but I would argue it would keep people single. It's like you said, like, oh man, we gotta go through all this.
It would keep people unmarried. People still
Unmarried.
don't have their kids. Yeah.
Yes,
They'll
it
still
would
have
keep
those
people.
kids.
Yeah. It would keep
Yeah.
people unmarried. You're right. You're right. Thanks for that. Yes, great. That was a great correction. It would keep people unmarried. I think if we want to get people to marry, we have to take away the advantage of the divorce. So what do I mean by that? Okay, we do everything. We're going to get our marriage license, right? The marriage license should states that if this marriage were to terminate and I'm making this up as we go, if this marriage would end in divorce in 5 years, this is what the split looks like. And this is a percentage. If this marriage goes 8 years, this is what the split looks like. And then when it comes to children, it's 50-50, no child support. And if anyone is married less than 10 years, there's no alimony at all, not even, startup money, right? And it's structured that way. Or you can say, I want that package, or I want the kamikaze package where it's like no restrictions. If she gets married, get divorced tomorrow, and she can hit you for 30% of your net worth or whatever, or you have to do something where, okay, let's see what we have. Everybody's talking about the table. What do you bring to the table? One of the things in order to sign a marriage contract, and they should have a breakdown of assets.
Mm-hmm.
This person has 80% of the assets. This person has 20% going in. So again, in 5 years, you're only going to get 20%. They're going to get 80%. Something like that. Again, I'm just making this up as we go. I think something like that might get more people to marry.
So what I think we're talking about here is a way to lower the divorce rate. I think that the harder it is for people to get divorced, I think the fewer people are going to get married. Because right now, one of the biggest things people seem to have in the back of their head is, how easy is it for me to get out of this thing if I'm not getting what I want from it? And that's why divorces seem to just keep ticking up. Expectations keep climbing. People can't, nobody can meet the expectations that people have in this day and age for, kind of what they think normal is. So you just have to get away from that entirely. Let's keep marriage for people who actually want to be married, and make it so hard that the only people who do get married are people who are more likely to stick with it.
Yeah, it's funny. I've said that a lot. I've said that more than once. I say it should either be harder to get married or harder to get divorced. Like it should be one or the other. So it's like, hey, this is what it is. And Brother Cody has a good point. It's like, for what purpose are you getting married? And I think that's the point you're making. Miss AKA lady, she is like, what the abuse like in situations where divorce is easy though. probably way less than the situation where it's hard. I mean, it's just keeping it 100. You know, it just like it is what it is. There has to be a
He's
happy
bringing up
medium
a
there.
good point, which is I prefer the idea of make the marriage hard to enter. Because to the point, making the marriage hard to leave, that can come with a separate set of consequences. Like I'm stuck with you and I don't really want to be stuck with you. And maybe I'll lash out because I don't know how to get out of this, but I wish I could. I would just say, let's keep you from ever getting married in the first place. Marriage should be one of those things where you kind of look and think, wow, you got married? Really? Like, why? You have so many other options. Why'd you do it? It's because I really wanted to. That should be the answer to this.
Because it's hardcore. Like I'm hardcore with it, and guess what? It's working. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's definitely something there. Brother Cody has a really good point. You're like, what's the point of signing a contract that is supposed to enforce loyalty and accountability and be permanent if it literally doesn't do those things and can be ended anytime and only costs money? Right. So again, it gets into that, like, why not? You're just like, what? Why are we doing this if it really doesn't mean anything? And someone who ever had, like I said, my theory is who gets wrecked in divorce courts? The person with the money, the person with the resources. That's who's ultimately going to get hit. Why do it? Again, like, you know, me, if I'm broke and some very wealthy woman wants to marry me, let's get it on, baby. Let's get it on and pop it. Because I'm not going to lose a thing. Not that I want anything, but there's no risk. You know, I mean, it is what it is. So, I like that point that Cody just made.
Yeah, I think if I'm reading him right, part of it is if you look at marriage today, yeah, nobody takes their vows seriously. Vows don't mean anything. And that's the problem. Make those vows mean something. You said you're going to do this for life. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg if you want to go back on your word. So think really long and hard about it and then decide if you want to make that leap or not.
So I guess if you wanted to do that, you could simply penalize the person who files for divorce.
That would be, you know, you're going to have stipulations. Like there's certain things where you're like, look, if you're physically abusive, you know, you're doing something weird. Okay, those are exceptions to the rule. But yeah, it's like you file for divorce. Okay, it's on you. There was I forgot what this was. There was a sci-fi movie and it brought up this idea that I found interesting. Basically, there was no full-term marriage. Marriages were like 3-year contracts.
Yeah,
and at
Earth
the end
2.
of the 3 years.
That was Earth 2.
Yeah. So, okay, you remember better than I do. But at the end of that contract, you're like, are we going to renew or not? You're like, you know what? I'm out. I did my 3 years, free and clear. I'm good. It was an interesting idea because, you know, it forced people to kind of say, you know, do I want to work at this? Do I want to keep this? When you know they can get out of it, it kind of makes you rethink whether you want to, you know, put in the work or not. Right now, people don't want to put in the work because everybody feels like they got better options if they just leave and start over with somebody new. And then they find out on the back end that they really don't.
Well, then there's just the financial payout for some of those people. You know what I mean? And then, you know, people like, man, you're always picking on women. It's like, hey, women file for divorce 70 to 80% of the time. And like and again, money's alimony paid is normally paid from man to woman, not the other way around. So you got to do something about that. And Sister Candace is right. If you file for divorce, you also should be you shouldn't be asking for anything on the way out, right? Because you broke the contract, right? Like you said, like or change the words. Like you're going to get married, change the words. So I'm with you there. But like reading this thing, like getting back to Rich's video, you know, those 5 points I think would entice men or make it easier for men to want to get married. You eliminate the whole alimony thing, which is going on in certain states. Again, Florida, no more forever alimony. Blew my mind. Default 50-50 custody. If you find yourself before a judge that the marriage didn't work out, you're not losing your children. That's one of the biggest things. Men hate that. It's like, man, I lose access to my kids. You know what I mean? Which is horrific. It worked out well for you, but I know a lot of people it didn't work out that well for. You know what I mean? So like it is what it is. Like salute to you. I'm glad it worked. Eliminate division of assets. Again, I put an asterisk on that one. I think there should be a division of assets if there was equal growth there. But again, if one party is sitting down doing nothing, eating bonbons, nah, they shouldn't be rewarded. Especially if that's the party who filed for divorce. You ain't doing anything. You haven't brought any money into the organization, and you want a divorce so you could take half of the stuff that the organization has made in the past 5, 10, 15 years. Nah, That just shouldn't be that way. The mandatory DNA paternity test, we're seeing that in Tennessee. We're going to see it in other states. I think that makes sense. You know what I mean? And child support is what the child actually needs, like actually tracking child support. If these 5 things were addressed, I mean, what do you stand to lose? I mean, you might lose a little bit, but you're not going to get wrecked.
But it goes to the point of if you address issues up front. I mean, these 5 are a good 5. They're not the only 5, and I wouldn't just unilaterally say this is the way it works. But if you say we have to talk through a bunch of issues before we can sign this contract, and we have to come to an agreement on how we're going to handle these issues, then yeah, you are making it harder. Sounds like, yeah, so we'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah.
You are making it harder to get out of it, which discourages people from just jumping into it frivolously. Now, if you think it sounds like a military contract, I mean, my question would be this. You come onto a job and I give you a contract and I say, this is the work that I expect from you and this is what I'm going to pay. You're like, all right, you have a breach of contract. You knew what you were getting into signing up. I'm not telling husbands and wives to come into a relationship and be slaves. I'm just saying you come into this relationship and up front, these are the financial implications. These are the business, these are all of the implications of what I'm about to do. So if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to sign this contract. And if I do, well, all right, I can't complain on the back end if I decide to cheat on my wife and she takes, the house because that was clearly laid out in the contract.
I see what you're saying. Like I said, the one thing is these conversations are definitely taking place across America, at least, and it's making its way into the state legislators because they're doing these things. You look at, I think Texas was in the news recently because they want to do away with no-fault divorces. They want to change what Reagan brought in back in 1969 with this, irreconcilable differences or whatever. No, if you want a divorce, you have to show cause for the divorce. They want to bring that back. And that's being attacked by, a lot of people out there. They're like, well, you just want to make me stay in a wedding, a marriage that I don't like. Like, well, you said the words. Like, why did you get married if you ain't trying to stay in it forever? Like you said.
But they're still attacking the wrong side. They're making it harder to get out. I think you need to make it harder to get in. Make it really hard to get in. So the only people who get married are people who actually want to be married.
Right. That makes sense. Like I said, it needs to be either harder to get married or harder to get divorced. I'm cool with either or, but the way it stands right now, it just doesn't work. A lot of men are getting wrecked, but again, women are starting to get wrecked as well. It's not gender. When you go into the family law system, it's who makes the money, right? It's not the man or the woman. And you know that better than most. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Again, like, salute to you. Every time I hear your story, I just be like, hey, win. Like, I'd be having to be toasting nobody. I'd be like, hey. But
spend the money on the lawyer. Yeah, it's worth it.
Right? It's worth it. And my buddy, Perry Davis Jr. came on this platform. He said, he's like, man, it's like, if you have the money, they come to take it. Man or woman. He's like, it's not, and this is in Ohio. It's like, it's not gender-based. It's not gender-based at all. So,
I got to run. I got to go meet my cousin. I was like, let me get in here and just chat it up real quick.
Appreciate you, bro. Topic.
I always like where you're going with the channel.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, man. I got my eye on you as well, bro. If you ever want me to come on your platform, all you got to do is ask, man. I'm right there 100. And next time you travel, man, next time you go to a happy place, man, definitely got to holler at your boy. You know what I mean? I want you to send me something like broadcast live from over there. I want to do a show with you sitting on the beach over there. Like, yeah.
We can do that.
Absolutely, bro. I'm gonna holler at you, man. Thanks. Shout out to the last good man in Jersey, man. That's what's up, fam. You know what I mean? And then we got Brother Lamont's gonna come up here for a minute with some stats. Yo, whenever I had this conversation, I know like Brother Lamont he's gonna see this. He gonna come up, and because he knows the stats, man. Let's bring you up. What's good, fam? How you doing, bro?
Hey, what's going on? I had to come in.
Yes, sir.
Come in and I mean, it's a couple of things. I'm coming in on the tail end of this, so I don't really know the exact, the full topic. But you always talk about, how changes can be made to the family law system. I believe that the joke is out. Because I'm interacting, I'm part of a lot of movements, and interacting with the state legislature, and the stuff, the monkey business that goes on in family law. They're well aware of. The first and simplest fix would be to simply apply the federal constitution. All your rights are protected via the federal constitution. Your rights to the care, custody, and control of your children is a liberty interest. So it falls in play with the 7th and the 14th Amendment's promise of equal protection and due process protections. No fault divorce. The contract, once again, also talks about states making no law. I forgot what clause it is in the Constitution, but it's called the contract clause. Anybody can look it up. No state shall make any law abridging the obligation of contracts. Now that a constitutional review is supposed to happen before any legislation is enacted. If that would have been done, when 69 or 70, when no fault divorce came into play, you have an entity, right? No fault divorce that is going to absolve anybody from the obligations that they're voluntarily submitting to, i.e. marriage. Okay. And essentially you can walk away from a marriage for any reason. You can walk away from a marriage for no reason. I think one of the fixes to marriage that should happen is the reinstitution of fault divorce. It should at least be an option. But I believe that the very strong argument can be made that, no fault divorce, just the idea is unconstitutional, because you're creating a so-called agreement, an agreement / non-agreement that has no rights, duties, obligations, all the elements that, are, endemic, or when anybody thinks of a contract, all the elements, rights, duties, obligations, that you have in regards to a contract. None of that exists in regards to no fault divorce, and nobody knows that better than anybody that has been dragged into family law, and you realize how little rights you actually have to your home. You can be thrown from your home with no due process, overnight, thrown on the streets, made homeless. I believe that divorce is actually the 4th leading cause of bankruptcy in this country at the moment. But there's a lot of things that I could talk about this for hours. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, and I would say, so the topic is, I was reacting to a video from Rich Cooper.
Mhm.
And it was just short. It was like the only way to fix marriage. So he put up 5 ideas, 5 points that he thought would fix marriage or make marriage more attractive to men. And those 5 things were eliminate alimony, default 50-50 custody when you do go through the family court system, eliminate division of assets, mandatory DNA paternity test, and child support is what the child actually needs, i.e. tracking child support. Do you think that those those bullet points or those fixes, those I don't even know what to call them, those items would change how men feel about marriage and maybe make it more attractive?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, he's dead on with that. I mean, a lot of people don't know. Okay. Like the only reason with the original purpose of child support, right, was for the state to recoup welfare expenditures. So if your baby mama is not on the county, child support is not even supposed to apply to you in the first place. Now, I don't have, I mean, that policy, if it was, clearly disclosed, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I still don't even think that's constitutional, because the mom, right, could be on the county without the father's awareness or permission, right? So you're contracting somebody to an obligation that he was not even aware that he had. Where's the justice, equity, and fairness in that?
Right. I agree with you there.
Okay, 50-50 custody, mandatory custody of children, apply the Constitution. That should be standard. I don't know, why is it taking so long for people to do the right thing, right? I mean, because in all, I am about fairness. That the child is the equal custody of each parent. But in all honesty and truth be told, custody should go to the father. Okay,
Wow.
Fa-
Really?
um, uh, men raise better children. That is the statistical fact.
Yeah, the numbers
I'm
are
a
out there.
I'm a state peace officer in the state of California. Okay, we have the largest penal system in the country, maybe the world. Okay, 86% of the inmates that we have are the products of single mother-led households. Seems to be some correlation. Okay, um,
No, you're right.
alimony, alimony alimony, in my opinion, should not even apply at all to no fault divorce. If you're in a no fault divorce scenario, you signed up for essentially a contract that has no terms, duties, or obligations. This man never had an obligation to you to begin with under no fault. He had no right. There's no contract, right? So, in my opinion, alimony should only apply to fault divorces, right? And for the aggrieved spouse, the spouse that's getting left, right? In the
So
50s,
you're saying
hold on, let me give you an example why
okay.
alimony was started. In the 50s, right? You had the father, right? Executive at a company, right? He starts sleeping with his secretary, leaves his wife destitute because she's a stay-at-home mom. That's what alimony is for. Alimony is not for any other scenario, and it's certainly not for a scenario where you initiated a divorce. You're leaving a divorce. Where else in life does somebody get rewarded for breaking a contract? So, I mean, okay, we got alimony, spousal support, and just bringing, making fault at least an option. I mean, if you want to me, if you want to sign a contract that's not a contract, this is a free country. You can do that, right? But I don't think that the state should even recognize no fault. Primarily, number one, because of the contract clause of the Constitution, and additionally, why if I'm the state and I'm running the country or a state, right? Why do I need to recognize a no fault divorce? You can already move in with somebody and be on a lease. You can already move in with somebody and be on a mortgage. You can put anybody you want on your health insurance. You can put anybody you want on your will. So you don't necessarily need to be married to this person to get any of the comforts of being married. I.e., health insurance, share a house. You don't need to be married to do any of that. But it's a farce. It's a fraud for the whole idea of no fault divorce. It was fraudulent from the beginning, and it should not have ever passed any sort of constitutional rights review, which is supposed to happen. But
Well,
Ronald Reagan,
yeah,
at
Reagan
the
did it.
time,
Reagan
was
said,
going
I
through a
think,
divorce.
yeah, I think Reagan
Right?
said that was his biggest regret.
I don't know if you're aware. Ronald Reagan said that bringing no fault divorce into reality, that was his biggest regret of his political career.
Yep, biggest regret. Now, let me ask you something real quick. I noticed a shift in our audio, man. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you kind of sound muffled. It kind of went muffled on me a little bit. So if you can still hear me,
I'm sorry about that. But a device in my house picked up my. Can you hear me now?
yeah, yeah. And I was just making sure. Yeah, I wanted to make sure it wasn't on my end. I started raising my levels over here. But like we can hear each other. Sister Candace had a question for us on the panel and for the chat. She was like, thoughts on a woman keeping the last name of her husband after divorce. For example, Shaquille O'Neal's wife in all likelihood benefited from O'Neal's last name after leaving Shaq. So, I think that once someone gets married, I think that as soon as the divorce goes through, that divorce includes you losing the man's last name. I don't think it should be a choice. I think it should be mandatory.
Yeah, I don't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, in regards to keeping somebody's last name, I don't. I mean, I know somebody who got divorced and kept their last name because it was the name of their child. So I mean, I don't think that really affects the finances of somebody. And while I was talking right now, the thought came to me, like a prenup or at least like some sort of non-disclosure agreement should be the default setting for for divorces as well, because in my divorce, my wife essentially told opposing counsel literally everything about me. And it was like I was getting like dings on my credit report, and like she was running criminal background checks. So that's some legislation that I would actually add to the pile as well, because some very grimy things goes on during divorce. You know,
No, absolutely.
you've been doing this long enough to know that, this is like, that's invasion of privacy. My social security card, driver's license number was handed out. That's identity fraud. It gets pretty scandalous.
Yeah, I went through the same thing, and yeah, the chat confirmed it. Yeah, man, like, yeah, you're right. Something happened. Your volume went way down, but now it's back. Everyone was like sharing in the chat, so we got a little bit delay, but you can see in the chat you're back. You're good to go. Brother Penny's like, I agree with Brother Lamont. No fault divorce is a major element that makes marriage contracts
Pointless.
unconscionable. Yeah, I mean, bro, why do it? It doesn't make any sense. Why do it? That's the thing we break down to. So, but the point of this particular show was to kind of go with what Rich Cooper was saying, and the very beginning of this segment of Rich Cooper's video there, he said this would never happen. He was like, I'm gonna give you these 5 points that would make marriage more attractive to men, but this will never happen. And the thing
I don't necessarily believe that it wouldn't happen, because really only thing you're doing is setting the default back to 1968. This is the way it was. This is the way it was.
And my thing is, it's currently happening. When you look at forever alimony, Florida got rid of that. And they set in place a system that doesn't reward you necessarily for getting divorced. Like, there's no more forever alimony. The 50-50 default is coming. Here in Florida is already law, and I think it's going to hit some other states. Florida has enshrined in laws, like you said, they're going back to the 1960s model, right? You go into court, it's 50-50 default. They say now that it's in the best interest of the child that they have access to both parents, 50-50. That's it. So that's amazing. I thought I would never see that. And then the mandatory DNA tests are starting to come, starting out of Tennessee. And then, Texas is getting rid of, and some others. I think Arkansas is one. I know Texas is one of them. No more no fault divorces. You're going to have to show cause. So it's slowly, it looks like the pendulum is starting to move the other way.
Well, like I said, 1969 going back, the best person lineage, throughout history has always been traced through your father anyway. There's a reason why you take on a woman takes on the man's last name. The man had to go to the father of his prospective wife and ask his permission to get married, because the man was taking on the responsibility of that woman, right? So we've essentially turned our backs on thousands of years of human history and evolution, right? Just at the behest of feminism, and feminism's falling apart before our very eyes. Like the brother Sarah Garvey talks about, we are witnessing, right, the fall of America in real time. And that's reality. You can see it all around us. You can see it all around us. That's a societal breakdown. I don't want to lay the blame 100% as at the feet of women, feminism, that is. But there's a lot of reasons. But feminism plays a pretty big part in what's going on.
Yeah, I wouldn't lay it at the feet of feminism, but you're right. I mean, they're in it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of it is they're in it. And I agree with you there, bro. I mean, education plays a part. I mean, we keep Americans dumb. It's just, the no one participates in our political system, which that only, keeps the elites in power, right? The only thing the elites fear is your vote. And, they can't quite buy your vote, but they're real close. They're real close to, getting rid of your vote, getting rid of your say. So I agree with you, bro. I think that we're getting there.
I put it like this: I'm pretty left wing, socialist actually, but if Donald Trump or any Republican, and I think in regards to fathers' rights, the fastest route to this would be, I guess, the weaponizing of fathers' rights via the Republican Party. This could be a way for the Republican Party to regain ascendancy in this country. If Donald Trump just made it a platform issue that, you know, I'm going to fix what goes on in these family law courts, it would be a blowout.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Trump is just too far gone right now, man. Because I mean, for the, you know, the people who follow him, but to win over moderates, to win over even people like me, I'm a Republican, but I'm a very moderate Republican. You know, I ain't got, you know, I look at someone like Donald Trump, don't hate the player, hate the game. You know what I mean? But he crossed the line that he didn't, you know, he went too far and he gonna have to sit down. But if you had, you know, a Tim Scott or Nikki Haley or some Republican we don't really know that came out of nowhere and said what you said, yeah, I think they can win that independent vote, which is really that small percentage of America that pushes the vote one way or the other. I mean, hell, there's someone like Gavin Newsom, which I'm not a big fan of Gavin Newsom, but I tell you what, he's a political giant. If Gavin Newsom came out and said, look, I made these changes in California as one of my final acts as governor, and I plan to go to the White House and help the entire nation make these changes. We're going to eliminate no-fault divorce. We're going to ensure that people get 50-50 custody. We're going to eliminate division of assets. If he did that, I think that Gavin Newsom would come out and win.
Well, I think the Democratic Party is too far gone, and I don't think that that's something, you know, I live in California. I don't think that's something that Gavin Newsom would ever do. I guess via example, there was a bill, I can't remember the actual number of it, but he recently, to his credit, right, he vetoed it. But I can't think of the number, it's pissing me off. But anyway, this is what happened. They were going to make a law, right? Divorcing couple, if the child, like if your son expressed his desire for gender transitioning, you know, your son wants to become your daughter, the parent that did not support that would qualify as you not acting in the child's best interest, right? Making
Wow.
I guess a hostile living environment for the child, and it would be grounds to award custody to the parent who was what they call quote unquote gender affirming, right? So if you're not in agreement with your son becoming your daughter, right? That's grounds to lose custody. Now, you know, California just about flipped out. So he vetoed it, to his credit, once again. But, you know, I'm not the biggest Gavin Newsom fan. You know, I think all this LGBTQ stuff has actually gone off the cliff to the point that, you know, even, you know, like people like myself, people that consider themselves left wing, that, you know, that's a line in the sand that, you know, I'm not willing to cross with, you know, this the penchant to push the LGBTQ agenda on the world, and to the point to where they're really aggressive about it, and it's getting out of control.
Yeah, because, you know, I lived in California for 20 years, man, and I'm familiar with California politics. I was there when Gray Davis. I remember when Gray Davis got there, and then I was there for Hit the Fall, and, you know, I was right there. I had a lot of my people working with the Schwarzenegger team, and through that recall election all the way up to Sacramento. I'm very familiar with California politics, man. And like I said, I couldn't wait to get out of California. Let's put it that way. Like that, not that I'm crazy about Florida, but it is definitely the polar opposite of California. I didn't know that about that law, man. It's a good thing that he did veto that. That is insane. That's insane.
It's insane. It's insane, and it you know, it
Oh, here's the bill right here. It's 957.
Yeah, and it got to the point, you know, that you know, it made its way through all the you know, in Sacramento, all the I guess the reviews and panels that it's got to go through, and it, you know, it made it to the governor's desk. And California, in my opinion, you know, it's I don't think democracy is supposed to work like this, in that, you know, this is a one-party state. Right. I don't even know what they go to Sacramento. I'm like, what do they even do while they're up there? Everybody wants the same thing. You know, democracy is based upon, you know, argument, debate, the back and forth of, you know, negotiation. When you have a room full of Democrats, you know, they start pushing through agendas like this. And even in California, California is not the left-wing liberal utopia. We don't have universal health care. right? If California is supposed to be the liberal utopia, we don't have the things that liberals clamor for. No universal health care. No, pre-K is not part of the curriculum. Junior college is not free. It's supposed to be. It's taxpayer funded.
Speaking of taxes, you're getting pounded in taxes. You would think that the taxes would be a little bit lower.
I'm glad you brought that up. People always talk about California's gas prices. If you're familiar with Southern California, where did you live at when you lived out there?
I was in the Valley mostly. I was in basically LA.
You familiar with Carson, driving on down the 405 from Carson to Long Beach?
Oh yeah.
Okay, on your right, you remember seeing those things that look like oil refineries?
Yeah.
Those are oil refineries. Okay.
Yeah.
We do not need to pay anything. We should be paying the cheapest gas. We don't buy gas from anywhere else. The oil's refined right here.
Right. To California emission standards, and that's the reason they use to charge so much in taxes. Like it's a big. I'm like, bro, like I said, don't hate to play ahead the game. It's a big scam. You talk about getting pimps, boy, and where's that money going?
Like, somebody's pocket.
Yes.
I mean, we pay the most for gas. I mean, because California, I guess in the 40s, 50s, we were supposed to also have like the tunnels for the subway system for LA are still there. It's kind of like a tourist attraction too at this point. But we were supposed to have the best rapid transit system in the world, but they decided that, with the Hollywood move and just the whole stereotypical Southern California lifestyle, that this would be the hub for the car lifestyle. And that is the reason why they moved away from trying to make rapid transit awesome here, right? So everybody would have to be commuting, and that's the reason why we pay for gas.
Man, I couldn't wait to get out of there. But here's the thing: California is a beautiful state, and I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, it was amazing when I first got there. The fact that you can go snowboarding and surfing in the same day, man, you can go out dune buggying and then go out and go paragliding or something like that. Man, it's great. But the restrictions out there, like the assault on the Second Amendment, blows me away. When you look at and I hear that they just allowed high capacity magazines again in California. Someone sent me something, I didn't really get into it, but like taxes and all that. And it's so expensive, bro. Like, I mean, it's so expensive. I know people making between $60,000 and $85,000 a year in the LA area, man, and they can't afford rent. They cannot afford to house themselves. They got to live in a car, man. That's insane.
Yeah, I don't know about if you're making 85, you live in your car, but that you not going to get much in the way of an apartment, bro. I mean, it would take, and once again, get back to divorce. That's the reason why a lot of people cannot pass on generational wealth because you got to live with somebody, right? And you make the mistake of not being emotionally attached to this woman anymore, and she feels neglected. She gets a divorce, and then all that equity in that house goes right back into the pockets of the state and greedy divorce attorneys. So I think what it is just it's the largest transfer of wealth that is going on. I mean, it's the state has found a way to monetize people's lives.
Yeah, and they're gonna get onto it. And real talk, man. I worked at Van Nuys as an air traffic controller for 15 years or so. I was in San Diego for a little bit, as well, bro. In the Valley, right in Van Nuys, there are streets, right? Havenhurst is one of them, where people line up. Is one of the few. I don't know if they still have it, but it's one of the few streets where you can park overnight, right? And dude, it would be 50, 60 cars nightly rushing over there. People living in their cars, sleeping in their cars. And a lot of these people are making big money. Like I said, up to 85 grand a year. And the thing is this, why is it they're living in their car? Because what you just said, bro, they went broke going through the family law system, or they got hit with some sort of healthcare thing. Oh, yeah. And they just can't afford it. They're still making the money. So what they do, they get a gym membership. They take their showers and stuff at the gym. And they're just living their life without a place to live, man. I mean, it's just like, bro. I mean, how much? I think if you're making 60 grand, I think you qualify for public assistance in certain places in California.
I haven't heard that. I don't think it's that high.
No, we can pull it up. I'm gonna have to pull it up. Brother Penny, do me a favor. I think, especially in San Francisco, but even in LA, I think if you're making $60,000 a year, you qualify for some like the EBT stuff. You could qualify for some other things as well. It's just
I mean,
because it,
there's a lot of homelessness in California. I mean, San Francisco, Sacramento. It's appalling what San Francisco, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, has turned into. And liberals really don't have they can't take a lot of credit for a lot of things, because I mean, if California is supposed to be the liberal citadel, and if this is a way or an example of what a liberal government will look like, we need to be ashamed of ourselves.
yeah, it goes back to what you're saying. You don't have debate, you don't have people with different points of view. You're not gonna get there. Like, so you got all these people sitting in the room, and now you're just debating the most extreme part of one side, and you're not even listening to the other side. Say what you want about, like, because I guess I'm more of a libertarian, bro. And like I said, I'm moderate. If it makes sense, it makes sense. I'm not for just giving people stuff just to give them stuff. You know what I mean? But like Brother Pitney was saying, like here, California standard capacity magazines are cool. That makes sense to me. Like the rules that they had in California, like, well, we want to restrict magazines, we want to restrict weapons and ammo and this and that. I'm like, to what? Because we want to do away with crime. Like, bro, the crime ain't going nowhere, man. That's not all you are doing is making people criminals, because you're going to have folks who are not going to surrender their weapon. They're not going to surrender their standard magazine because they're trying to protect their family. That's what that kind of stuff does to you. Maybe one day they'll figure it out.
Well, one thing, let me get off the line real quick, but one thing I'd like to put out there, the Black manosphere, Black people in general, need to come together on this particular issue. And that particular issue is, reform to the family law process. Now, one thing we could model our approach after, anybody that has ever been unfortunate enough to have CPS involved in their life, one of the first things a CPS investigator will ask you is if you have Native American ancestry. Okay, now what they're asking is, in the 70s, CPS was going upside Indians' head. It was taking their kids left and right, and they had to complain all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and through something called the Indian Child Welfare Act. You can look it up, ICWA, ICWA. They asked for and got the full protections of the federal constitution, which everybody should have in regards to the liberty interests of your children. Okay, you cannot be deprived of custody. Indian, rather, or Native American cannot be deprived of custody of their children in family law court. It has to be a full-blown criminal proceeding, due process, free attorney, quick and speedy trial, and the evidentiary standard is beyond reasonable doubt. That is something that Black people should be asking for. Black Lives Matter LA was on KJLH, and they were trying to start a campaign called Defund CPS. And the lady that was speaking had mentioned that, despite Black people being 6 to 10% of the population of LA County, we are 43% of CPS foster care placement.
Wow.
So this is, asking for the same protections as ICWAs have, or being placed under the umbrella of the Indian Child Welfare Act. That's something we should be asking for immediately.
Well, I didn't know that, brother. I tell you what, I'm going to make that the short. I'm going to put that out there and see what kind of comments we get on there, bro. Brother Lamont, thanks for coming up, man. I appreciate you, man. You always dropping knowledge.
Okay, have a good one.
You too, bro. Peace. Always dropping knowledge, man. Shout out to Brother Lamont. It is crazy. Brother Cody has a good point here about universal health care. People think that's the greatest answer of them all. It's not. If universal health care, like, it should be a stopgap. But if you have it and people just stop paying for insurance, that's what everybody goes for. And that's when you get that 3 to 10 year waiting list to get something taken care of. You're right. And then, you're not modifying God's creation. Lots of these people don't care about what God did, bro, especially when it comes to this sort of nonsense. It's giving a child the ability to modify their body to that extent. But that same child can't go out and have a bank account or get a job or buy a house. but they can do that to their bodies. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, at 18, fine, but 12? Man, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm definitely going to look into that statement I made about receiving financial support in California. I think it's $60,000. I think it is. I'll look into that later. I know it's neither here nor there, but sometimes I got to go fact check myself. You know what I mean? And yeah, CPS is definitely a child trafficking mess. It's disgusting, man. It absolutely is. As you can see, we have way more things that need to be fixed other than just marriage. But all this stuff comes up in divorce when it gets all nasty because we monetize children and people are doing their best to get kids so they can get more money. And we need to do something about that. 50-50 custody as a default would definitely change that part. People going out here there's no more incentive to keep the child away from the other parent, right? If it's 50-50 custody and the money is neutral or whatever, I'm definitely behind that. So I guess for the record, I agree with those 5 points that Rich Cooper, Unplugged Alpha, put out there. I agree with just about all of them. And again, Rich was saying that this stuff would never happen, but it looks like in America it's slowly beginning to happen. And I think that's a good thing. We'll keep our eyes on it. I appreciate everybody rocking with us and checking us out. This was pretty cool. This was pretty cool. Brother Pitney, Sister Candace, Brother Cody, Miss AKA Lady. And I saw Cody, I saw you and Miss AKA Lady playing rough over there. You know what I mean? So y'all be wilding. Kids can't buy cigarettes, but they could chop off parts of their bodies. Yeah, teachers are okay with it. It's not a bigger issue as the media will have you believe, especially here in Florida. It's not really. Like, my daughter's in school. We talk about this stuff all the time. Like, hey, what's going on? There's the teachers here, at least here in Florida, the teachers are not encouraging children to modify their bodies. All right, that's not going on. But the media will have you believe that this is an everyday occurrence. Big fight in California in Glendale. It is what it is. Parents will not let you mess with their kids. Politicians need to understand that, right? And quit trying to do whatever it is they're out here trying to do. So we're going to leave it there. I appreciate it, man. Thanks to the last good man in Jersey and Brother Lamont for coming up. Appreciate it. Thanks to all of y'all in the chat, man, keeping it lively and rocking it out. This was a good conversation. We're going to definitely keep our eyes on it. I'm waiting for some big news to break in Tennessee with the mandatory DNA testing thing. Florida's already I had some stuff already up here about the Florida law. I'm not going to read it, but what I will do is kind of show you guys some headlines of the stuff that we had out here. And here's one of the headlines right here. Before we go, we'll just show you this quick share. And there it is. New DeSantis signed law presumes 50-50 share time sharing of a child is best interest, right? So this was from Florida Voice. This is not a mainstream publication, but the information out there is valid. I just wanted to show you guys. We have some more stuff to look at. That was one of them. I was going to read that article, but we're not going to do it. I'm out of time. And then we had some stuff about marriage being on a decline. It was an Axios story about Americans and how it has dropped. Maybe we'll do another one, but people, Americans aren't getting married. That's the bottom line. Americans are waiting until they're later in life to get married. They're choosing to chase their careers and stuff like that. So it is what it is, right? It is what it is. It's all gravy. It's all gravy. So, but we don't have time to look at all that because I got to get going. But we're definitely going to keep our eye on this and see what happens. But I really do believe that the shift has begun, and America is that pendulum is going to swing back to the other side. Let's just hope it stays towards the middle and it doesn't go all the way over. Those pendulum swings, just be too much sometimes. We just keep it kind of in the middle. It'll be better for all of us. But yeah, thanks for rocking out with me, people. I really appreciate y'all. Brother Cody say father was arrested for speaking against it and here in the media, and family was was engaged by a court. Oh wow, yeah, that's up in Canada is like crazy. Brother Chris Smokey Hats in the building. Was good, fam. Like glad to be here. I think marriage is still a great endeavor. It's just that people make it imperfect. I agree, man. I will end with this. I believe that men or women are better together than they are apart. I agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%. But the way our rules and our laws are interpreted right now regarding marriage, it does not make sense. If you have something to lose, you need to be careful. You need to be careful, Brother Penny. Darn, that's the end. Facts. So, and with that, we're going to go ahead and be out with that intro that Shushu made. Hey, Shushu will be here Thursday. I think at 7 p.m. We're going to have Shushu on. We're going to be talking about some more of this type stuff. Wednesday, we're going to have a show about law enforcement. Make sure you're there. We're going to have brother Drew's going to be here. I forget, but look for the thumbnail, right? But we're going to be talking about law enforcement on Wednesday. Shushu is going to be here on Thursday. Not sure what we're going to be talking about tomorrow on Tuesday. I'll find something. Trust me. Until then, I'll see y'all. I'm DL Saint. This is the I Really Want to Know podcast. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.